All right, another podcast from the Michigan Institute of Athletics in Brighton, Michigan. This is going to be a killer podcast today. I'm here with a very good friend of mine, professional mixed martial artist, judo national champion. He's a father, he's a husband, he's a really good role model, especially for the next generation of martial artists, and we're going to get his story out here today. Right before we get into it, I want to shout out VetLife. VetLife is a 501c3 nonprofit company. It's a company of veterans for veterans. Every veteran faces difficulties transitioning from active duty back to normal civilian life, and VetLife is there to ease that transition. The best way to reach out to VetLife is to do so through Instagram or Facebook, or check out their website at vetlifetoday.org. So without further ado, I want to introduce Tim Eschtruth, the man of many nicknames. You've had multiple over the years, but you're a gentleman that really is a lifelong martial artist, and you and I have been in this game together almost a decade. But I want to start with people way back. I want to take it back to, when you were a young man. How did you initially find martial arts? What was it about it that kind of spoke to you, or was it not that strong initially? And then let's start to create your story to the man that you are today, and then we'll unveil on the podcast the opportunity that we have coming up.
Well, I guess to start off, it was all when I was a kid. You've seen various Halloween outfits where I was in a ninja outfit, I was in a Karate Kid outfit. I've always wanted to do martial arts. But where I grew up at, there wasn't any. I would have had to drive all the way to Saginaw, and my parents couldn't afford that. So I just took up little stuff here and there, playing around as a kid, and, always dreamt about being one. I mean, back when I was growing up, it was like the Ninja Turtles, Karate Kid.
Power Rangers.
I was going to say the Power Rangers. I was almost at that point where I was too old, but yet I was still young enough where it was still cool. I mean, this was back in season 1, season 2, when the Green Ranger was back. Tommy, Jason Frank White, loved him, still love him. So it was always just sparked an interest. Always wanted to do it, but just never had the opportunity to do it at all. So when I finally got the opportunity, I just jumped in, feet first.
What was that opportunity?
Well, that opportunity happened when I got back from Australia. I was playing the Down Under Bowl, and I was going to play football for SVSU, and then I got hurt. And it was like, okay, so now what am I supposed to do? I was not going to be able to play football. And one of my buddies was like, hey, Tim, you should come do judo. We have a judo class here at SVSU. I had no idea what judo was at all. And, he was trying to explain it to me. He's like, yeah, we get in these clothes, we toss each other around. It's like wrestling. I'm like, okay, that sounds kind of cool. I've always wanted to wrestle. My school never offered it, so let's give it a shot. So I took the credit, showed up day one, fell in love, and been doing it since,
So it spoke to you right off the bat. Was it just because, you were a competitor, and right when you started to do the martial arts, you kind of were like, oh man, this is like a new avenue for me to level up? Or what was it about judo or your first experience that got you hooked?
It just came natural. It was just that it just felt right. Like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. And that to me was very important because I needed to find something to do. And something that felt where I felt important. And this made me felt good, made me feel important. I was a somebody, and I just want to learn more and do as much as I can, go as far as I can. And competing is a big thing to me. I have an ego. I love to do stuff to bring, attention to myself. So
when you first started, were you kind of a prodigy? Like right off the bat, you were doing really well, or were you kind of mid-level when you first started training judo? Let's talk about the first couple months. Did people realize that you were going to be a high-level martial artist, or would you say you kind of blended in with the crowd?
I would say, they knew, some of the guys on the team knew I was going to be something because how hungry I was, how much I was willing to put the work in. Two of the guys I was training with were number 2, number 3 in the nation, and as soon as I got out of work and stuff, I meet up with them at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we train till noon, and then I'd go home and go to bed.
What did your life look like outside of martial arts at this period of time? So I didn't even know you played college football. I knew you played football in high school. I didn't know you played college football. So what did your life look like at that time? Did you have a long-term girlfriend? What did your personal life look like when you found martial arts?
It was that, well, okay, so with me going to play for SVSU, it was like, okay, this is going to be the greatest thing in the world. I was going to go play football. I was going to go play pro. And then that dream died when I got injured and the doctor said, you can't play. So I was like, okay, now what? So it was just that loss trying to find something. I needed something. I didn't have, I wasn't really dating anybody at the time. And then I ended up meeting Samantha Emmons, who who I ended up marrying later, and then later. Well, yeah, first wife.
Whole different podcast.
Yeah, that's a different story. But I just needed to find something that completed me, and then all of a sudden, like I said, the martial arts, it completed me. I got to feel that hunger again. I got to feel that importance, that self-empowerment.
So now you start making progress in judo. What are your goals at this point? Do you right off the bat know that, like, man, I'm going to be a competitor in judo and I'm going to see where that takes me? Just how does it start to change your life? Because obviously I have a similar story where I found martial arts and it's like I lost interest in everything else. Like, it's all I cared about. But, what were your goals at that point in time? What were you going to school for? What did you think your life was going to be? And then how did martial arts start to change that?
Well, at first, I was going to go be a youth minister. That was what I was going to do at first. And then I went to Australia. That changed that plan. Got back.
Damn you, Australia.
Yeah, it was... I was a good boy. I didn't want to do anything wrong. Went to Australia, found a whole new lifestyle, enjoyed life a little bit more than I knew I could, relaxed a little bit more on some stuff, got back. That was goal one. Then when I was kind of like, what, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe this isn't what God wants me to do. Trying to figure it out. And then I was going to go to school to be a psychologist, to help people. That was my goal, I wanted to help people. And then I found out that was 12 years of college. And then I was like, okay, new plan. What else could I do? And then it was like, well, you know what? I can be a teacher. So I started going to school to be a teacher.
Wow, it's kind of amazing how there's so many parallels between what you were seeking in a career and being a martial arts instructor. Yeah. Now, did you come from a very religious family? Like, were you put on that path of a youth minister from a young age, and like, you were kind of told like, hey, this is what you're going to grow up and become, and then you started to break out of that reality and say like, wait, what do I want out of this life? Or was that just something that spoke to you as a young man?
Well, my mom always drove it into my head. She's like, you're going to be a minister. God already told me, he sent to me that you're going to be a minister. You're going to be a minister. So that was in my head. And it was like, okay, so that's what I'm going to do. But then a lot of stuff was leading up into that, where I almost became one. Like I said, I was going to go to college for that, but then things happened. And then I realized a lot of stuff. Maybe this isn't what God wants, because if God really wanted me to do that, then I would have been this. I would have been doing everything. But then all of a sudden, everything changed. So,
got it. So your path starts to change. You get into martial arts. Do you have kids at this time, or when do Arden and Logan come into the picture?
So I started doing judo. A couple months later, met my ex-wife. And then a year later, we had my daughter, Arden, who's 16. And then 2 years later, we had my son, Logan, who, I love those two to death sometimes. It's like, as being a parent, it's always a riot dealing with kids because they take after me. They got my smart-ass humor. They got my stubbornness when it comes to stuff. They got that hard work ethics. They're very competitive, which is awesome at times, but during practice, sometimes it sucks because all they do is banter back and forth and bicker, and yeah.
Was your ex-wife into martial arts?
No, she tried it, but she realized how much work actually went into it. And my ex was one of those, she wanted to have to work hard for stuff. And as soon as stuff got hard, she always bailed. And for me, that was never an option. I was always taught if something gets hard, you get knocked down, you get back up. Growing up on a horse farm, also we had 20 horses, and somehow I was always the one picked to help break in a new horse. So if we had a horse that was green, Tim was tossed on the horse. And I got tossed off the horse a lot of times. I got thrown into fences. I got thrown into random stuff. I got thrown into a tree one time. But the thing was, I don't know. I've always had that, I'm going to get back up on that stupid thing. And I'm going to show that horse that I'm in control. I'm going to break the horse. I'm going to do it. It's not going to just put me away like that. I'm going to get up and I'm going to keep going. So that...
You're literally the metaphor, like you fall down off the horse, fall down 6 times, get up 7. Like they wrote the story about you. They saw you get launched out in the prairie over and over and like, look at that guy keeps getting back up. That's kind of motivational. We should put a quote together about this thing.
I mean, shoot. The horses were always fun. It taught me a lot how to stay calm. I mean, I got trampled before and the horse was like, oops, my bad. And, but I got back up. I mean, I don't know. It's just... I learned a lot from the horses, learning how to deal with people, how to stay calm, even like when I'm fighting, not getting overzealous and losing my temper. Because like with the horses, you have to stay calm in order to get them what you want to do. And that's the same thing in competition. If I lose my head, then I'll lose.
Got it. So when did you decide that you were going to start competing? Was it right away? Was it a couple years into your training? And then let's talk a little bit about as a competitor in judo. How did that start to change your life? The accolades that you picked up, just kind of talk about how judo was changing your life and, the man you were becoming on the mats. And then when did you start coaching?
So with the competing, my instructor was always a big competitor. He liked to compete all over, and he was always talking about it. And I was only in judo for like 3 months, and I already achieved my green belt, which was really quick for even like the way he does stuff. And he's like, you know what? Let's compete. Okay, I didn't know there was judo competitions. He's like, yeah, there's hundreds of them all over the place. Okay, cool. So I went off and I started competing, and I got down on myself because I got frustrated because I didn't win the first several tournaments, but that's expected. You're not always going to win. Wasn't like one of those like super gifted guys. It took me a while to learn stuff, but I mean, I went up against tough guys. Like my first 3 judo tournaments, I went against Justin Nazaroff, who was the captain of the judo team at CMU. He also went to college for wrestling. I believe he's a world jiu-jitsu champion now. And I was a green belt and he was a brown belt. I was always tossed up multiple divisions up, and I didn't realize. I'm like, oh gosh, man, I'm just getting my butt kicked. But then, like the old Tim was like, you know what? I'm going to come back. I'm going to beat him. I will beat him. I want to keep going. I'm going to keep going. And then eventually I started winning, and I started winning more. And then I was like, well, is there anything beyond just these little tournaments? And then my coach was like, well, let's go out to the Midwest Nationals. Let's go to Nationals. Let's go out to the Liberty Bell. Let's go to these Class A tournaments. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's go. So
what are the biggest tournaments that you ended up competing in judo? And when did you start to branch out into the mixed martial arts world? Or what was the next discipline that came in after judo?
Well, I've won at the Midwest Nationals. I've won the Myers State Games. I've won the AAU Freestyle Judo Nationals. I've won at the Liberty Bell. I've won at the Collegiate Nationals. I've won at a whole bunch of them. And then I started dabbling a little bit in jiu-jitsu because there was the college team that would come up and they'd train with me and stuff like that. So I was like, all of a sudden I'm getting caught with all these crazy submissions, and it's like, you know what? I got to learn this stuff. Because in judo, you don't focus that much on the ground at all. So it's all about the throw. So I was like, all right, so let's learn this. And then I had a friend of mine who, he started cage fighting, and at that time I was like, what is this stuff? Is this like WWE stuff, backyard brawling stuff? And I was like, okay. But then he's like, so Tim, how good is your judo? What do you mean? I've won at this tournament, I won this tournament. You see me destroying people. I'm one of the top guys in Michigan in the Midwest area. Obviously, I'm good. And then he's like, no, in a street fight. And that's where it caught me, where I was like, you know what? That actually is a good question. I've only been in one street fight ever. And that was before I knew judo. I mean, I won that one, which was kind of cool. That was a fun story, but that's another podcast. But so it was like, all right, well, how do I know my judo's good? So I contacted some people, and I got hooked up with Carolyn Biscup. And she was like, hey, I can get you a fight. When? Next week. Okay. Sweet. Can I do some striking?
So I want to think about, first of all, what timeline is this? How old are you? What year is it? How many years have you been training judo when all this starts to happen?
I was like 26, 27. So it was about my 6th or 7th year into judo. So yeah, I was a brown belt in judo at that point. And it was, yeah, so it was like, So this would have been probably about 2006, 2007, somewhere around that area. I'm not 100% sure. It was a long time ago. So, and so I got signed up. I fought for Big John's up north. I fought this really tall dude. I used to fight at 155 because I didn't know any better. And I learned a lot from that fight. I mean, I learned I loved it. Walking out there was no other adrenaline rush. There was a couple thousand people there, all screaming, going crazy, and it's like, oh my God, this is awesome. People want to see me beat somebody up. This is amazing, because at judo tournaments, there's only be a couple hundred. Even at nationals, wasn't a whole lot of people. So this was a new experience for me. And then with that, I learned a lot. I had to learn striking. I got my eye opened up. I ended up getting stitches. And I was like, you know what? I got to start learning striking. Started dabbling more and fought a couple other times. And then I'm like, you know what? I really got to get the striking thing down. My judo's good. My ground game is decent. But I got to get this striking stuff down. So
then where did you seek out advice in the striking realm, and how long were you practicing with whatever coach you were working with? And then I want to start to talk about, you quickly actually climbed the ranks as an amateur fighter. I remember at one point in time, your name was always in the mix as one of the top in the state. It sounds like you lost your amateur debut, but then you built back up. Let's start to talk.
Actually, I won my amateur debut.
Oh, but you were all split open.
Yeah, I was messed up, but I won it.
But you won the fight.
Yes.
Did you decision, submission?
No, I subbed him.
Excellent.
So yeah, because what happened? He opened my eye up, saw the blood dripping. I'm like, okay, I gotta end this. So I quickly just took him down and I choked him out. So
excellent. So then who did you go for to start working on your striking, and then start to talk me through your amateur career? Because I want to get to the point where I remember it was you and Brandon Sanford, which was the fight that everybody in Michigan was talking about. Tim Eschtruth versus Brandon Sanford. Brandon at the time had a pretty big name. A lot of people knew him. He was training with Quincy Rice, I think, at the time. And you were on the come up. And I remember everyone was talking about that fight. And then when you knocked Brandon out, people were like, what? Tim is the grappler. Tim is the submission artist. And he just brutally slumped Brandon. And I think the first round, I kind of want to build up to that. So where did you start going for your striking? How did that start to benefit your martial arts? And then talk me through your amateur career. If you remember a couple fights that really stood out, I want to talk about that Brandon opportunity. Because I remember a lot of people were talking about that.
Yeah. So starting off, I was with Carolyn for a little bit. And then things just weren't working out. And then I trained with Joe Ramos. And he was a good coach. He just had some personal issues that he needed to take care of. So then I started training with Rick Lindland for a year. And then he moved out to California. So I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And then I started training with Mark Kanar, who is a phenomenal martial artist. His kicks were amazing for a Taekwondo guy. Learned a lot from him. Got to train with some really good guys. As an amateur, I've got to fight Brian Scott, who was one of the top guys in the state. I beat Ben Nyes, was another big jiu-jitsu guy. I fought Phil Evans out of, I think he was out of Ohio or something like that. But Brandon Stanford, I was the Lone Ranger. Nobody knew who I was. I don't even think you knew who I was.
I did. I knew of you. And I remember when I saw that fight get announced, I remember knowing, I was like, Brandon's a tough kid. This kid's on the come up. He's really, making a lot of waves. Him and Quincy had a good connection. They were saying that he was going to be something special. And I knew of you. I don't think you had ever fought any of my guys though, right?
I was supposed to fight Jordan McGuire, not Jordan McGuire, Mike, whatever, Mike, crap, what's his name? I was supposed to fight one of your guys.
Got it, but it never happened, right?
No.
Like, because I don't ever remember cornering against you, but I remember keeping my eyes on the Brandon fight because I go, okay, well, this is going to kind of reveal like who are the better amateurs at 135 and like people that we can look out for, and then like I said, I heard that you absolutely flatlined him, and I was like, what? I need to figure out who this Tim Eschtruth guy is.
Yeah, so when I got that fight, I looked up all of his videos, and I studied him, I watched him, I busted my butt. It got my cardio up where it was going to be beyond where I could go rounds without having to worry. So I was taking control. I knocked him out in the 4th round, but those first 3 rounds, I was just taking him down at will. He couldn't stop my judo at all. I would just get in there close, take him down, and I beat the snot out of him. I wasn't able to get good subs on him, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to punish him. I'm going to punish his ribs. I'm just going to keep blasting away at those ribs so he can't breathe. And then we got to the 4th round. And this is, I thought was always funny because it's one of my favorite stories because my jiu-jitsu coach at the time came up to me and he's like, Tim, I have a question for you. In all your career, because I think it's probably going to be your last amateur fight. We want you to go pro. What's the one thing have you not done yet in your career? I don't know. He's like, have you knocked anybody out yet? No, I don't think so, sir. I don't know. I want you to go knock him out. So we're done with this whole taking down stuff? Yeah, stop taking him down and just knock him out. Okay. So got out there, we're like a minute into...
So you got that advice at the end of the 3rd round?
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, because, the game plan was just take him down and just beat him up, which I was doing easily. And then I just got out there, I was cover punching, and then I feinted, and then just threw my overhand, which is my money shot, and it connected, knocked him down. And, I mean, even if you watch that video, I was like, oh, my God. I was like, you can see it on my face. I was like a little kid who just, found a cupcake, and then also, oh, shoot, I got to go finish him. So run over there and just finish the fight,
Wow, and that one really put you on the map. Was that your final amateur fight?
I fought one more time down in Detroit for just giggles. Because they offered for me if I beat this guy, they would pay for me to go train with the Black Zillions for a week, and they'd give me a title.
I remember those like shady promotions that would pop up, and we're gonna do yada yada yada, and then they didn't follow through on like anything. Yeah.
I mean, I got a cool poster out of the deal.
So you beat Brandon. You are a successful amateur. Let's talk about that point in time where you go like, whoa, like I'm going to become a professional fighter. Let's talk about, leading up to your debut. What was that like? Because you went from the man that, found judo in college and was like, I'm going to try this out. Football didn't work out. Now you're about to be a professional fighter. What was that like? Do you remember that period of your life? And then let's talk about your pro debut because I remember that fight.
I felt like making that choice to jump pro was probably one of the best decisions, and it felt so great to go pro. I felt like a rock star. I felt like, oh my gosh, this is the big leagues. I get paid to punch somebody finally. This is awesome. This is a great feeling. And, I didn't care who I fought. I still don't care who I fight. Like I've sat there and said, you point me in the which way you want me to go, that's who I'm fighting. I don't care. It could be John Jones. It wouldn't be a great fight, but that's who I'm fighting,
You've really been like that since I met you, though. You've always been the guy that's like, hey, I'm a martial artist. You let me know who I'm competing against. Let's game plan together, and let's take it after this guy. I mean, that really is like the samurai spirit of like, you put the obstacle in front of me, and I'll find a way to conquer it. You truly have been like that from the beginning. So continue in the story of your pro debut.
Yeah, so we got up there, was training my butt off, got excited, fought over at EMU, and then I got knocked into Zombieland with that fight. I took a knee to the face. It almost was an illegal knee. My hand barely came off the mat. And Thomas Vidoli connected with my face. I blocked it great with my face. And I was knocked into Zombieland. And then for somehow on pure instincts, I was able to fight through. And then I got yelled at by you.
Yeah, for the people that haven't seen that fight, listen, Tim joined my team after his fight with Brandon Sanford, right?
Yes. Yeah.
He joined my team to prepare to go pro because we had an army of people at 35 that were killing it. So Tim joined the team. We booked the Thomas Fidoli fight. If you want to see a fight of pure, unrelenting determination on someone that refused to lose, it was incredible because Zombieland is a good way to look at it. I mean, 99.9% of people that I know would have been done, and you just had this, like, I don't know, your spirit wouldn't let your body fall down. And then you put the pace on them, and you ended up finishing the fight, I think, rear naked choke.
Yep.
In the second round, after, like, I mean, was it at the end of the first that we basically had to pick you up and, like, drag you to the stool?
You had to walk me over and sit me down, and then I got yelled at by you.
Like, we need to get this guy out of here. No more games.
Yeah, you're just. I remember that because you're like, you're better than this. What are you doing? Go sub him right now. I want you to sub him. Show me what you can do. And I just like, okay, I guess that's what I'm gonna go do. So went out there, took him down, and then subbed him.
And yeah, that was an incredible moment. I remember that you turned 1-0 as a pro, and then you kind of went on. You went on a streak. You fought Justin Street after that.
I got Fight of the Year for 2017. Not one of my favorite fights, but still.
Another one. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to see how much damage the human skull can take and still be on a mission to be victorious? Go watch Tim Eschtruth versus Justin Street. You actually, when we started that fight, no disrespect to Justin Street, but I actually thought we were going to blow him out of the water. I was like, listen, Tim is going to bully him, take him down, get on top, and submit him against his will. He's not going to be able to stop you. The grappling difference in that fight is just too significant. And the first, I think, 2 minutes, it was like that. I mean, you came out, you moved around a little bit, you took him down like a hot knife through butter. I think you mounted him like effortlessly. You slapped on a triangle. I'm like high-fiving people in the corner, like, fight's over. Great job, friends. And then from a little, like, from not keeping the angle and just keeping pressure down on the head, he went into Donkey Kong mode, full force, raining down hammer fists. And do you remember, like, do you ever feel yourself almost going out in that? Like, how you kept that triangle is beyond me because you took absolute atomic bombs, but then you finished him with the triangle. Do you remember being in that moment, or is it a blur?
I finished him with an armbar.
Oh, yeah, you armbarred him at the very end, yes. But it was a triangle that you had him in for.
Like, so when he started punching me, I remembered you guys to say, grab the shoulder. I'm supposed to hug the shoulder, so he can't punch me. But I couldn't really get it, but I kept hearing him gurgle. I heard, I'm like, so it's got to be a matter of time. And I'm like, he's got to go out at some point. And I mean, that's all I'm hearing is him gurgle, fighting for breath. I'm seeing him turning red, turning purple. I'm like, he's got to go. He's got to go. I'm not going to give this up. And 43 punches later, because everybody had to remind me, I end up letting go. I finally released. And then after that, like, once again, I was in zombie land. I don't remember anything. My body was fighting on instinct. I was taking him down. I was trying to get him down. And then finally the buzzer went. We got into that second round. I had a nice, fun talk with you. And then I went and German suplexed him. And then I armbarred him. And it was funny because even the announcer was like, he asked the same thing. Like, at what point did you feel that you were hurt? And to me, I was like, well, I wasn't hurt. And then I watched the film again. I'm like, I don't remember any of that. That didn't happen. So I was like, yeah, that was interesting. And then Michael, I can never say his last name, Siesta.
Michael who?
Siesta. He comes up here and trains up with us. He's with Julia Pena and stuff like that.
Michael Chiesa.
I can't ever pronounce his name. I'm sorry. Chiesa. I always want to say it right, but I can't never get it. He walked in and he looked at me. He's like, "You are now known as the Judokan Zombie." And I was like, "A UFC guy just gave me a nickname."
I remember that he came to it was at the EMU place,
Yeah.
right? Chiesa was there. I remember that he was in town. I think Juliana was there
Yeah.
too. Juliana Pena and Mike Chiesa were there to see my team fight. I remember that.
Yeah.
And so you're fighting in front of two legends, two Ultimate Fighter winner, legend UFC fighters. Yeah, I remember that. In my mind, for some reason, I thought we did finish it in the first, but no, because I remember going back to the stool with you and being like, "Listen, dude,
Yeah.
like if you don't finish him here, you're gonna lose this fight. We need to go after this guy and get a submission." I remember that, and then you did, and then you fought Anthony Fleming.
Yep.
And we learned that, hey, 80%, Tim, you need to go at this high pace, but not this berserker pace. You're too good to be making the little errors that you're making. And we think it's because we have you fighting at such a full pace. You toned it back to 80. It was one of your best performances.
Yeah.
I mean, so incredibly clean. You got the finish. And then I want to kind of expedite a little bit. You got to go fight in Japan.
Yes.
That is something that most people only dream of. Imagine if you could have spoken to the Tim that started judo and said, hey, one day, not only are you going to be a professional fighter, you're going to fly over to Tokyo and you're going to fight as a martial artist. That is next level. When you first got the offer, then you got accepted, then we're boarding the plane to Japan. Describe what that experience was like.
It was like just being in a really good dream. I never would have imagined, coming from a small town, being a kind of a little bit nobody, never would I've imagined being able to do that, being able to go to the places I did. When you said, hey, Tim, we're going to go to Japan. It's still to this day, I'm still like, oh my God.
At the time, you were a 4-1 pro,
Yep.
right? And it was Yamamoto, who is, the Yamamoto family over there is absolutely legendary. Anyone listening, Kid Yamamoto, legendary fighter, or Miyu Yamamoto. This is a family member of the Yamamotos. So you're going over there to fight, a martial arts family that is tied into the culture. You're an incredible martial artist in yourself. When you land down in Japan and you're seeing that is the samurai culture. That is the world. Like you said, it was kind of like a movie or a dream that you never wanted to end. Just kind of talk about what that experience is like to someone that hasn't chased the dream, because you at that point are at the pinnacle. You know what I mean? Me and you were walking through the streets in Japan together, talking about life and just going this is like a movie. This is like a dream. This is unbelievable. Talk about the entire experience. Obviously, it didn't turn out in your favor, but I'm sure it's still a moment of your life that you will appreciate from now until the end.
For me, like you said, it was a dream come true. It was realizing, if I keep putting all this hard work in, something's going to happen. Yes, it took a little bit of work and took a little bit of time and blood and sweat, but it was so worth it. I mean, it was just in awe, just being able to see the island, going to land in Japan, seeing the city, seeing the culture. I mean, it almost breaks my heart that I had to leave. It was I wanted to go back. It felt like I belonged there. I need to go back. I need to be there. It was just an amazing experience. I mean, like I said, everybody I couldn't do this. It's well, you can. You can do stuff. My brother, when I was asking about stuff, he's only told me the only person who can stop me from achieving those dreams is myself. And, that was wow, that's right. And I finally got to achieve one of my dreams. I got to sit there and fight in front of 80,000 people. I've never would have imagined that. Like I said, being in judo, never okay, I was thinking okay, I'm only going to go so far, but to be able to go do that and to see them, all those people singing up, walking down the aisle with my song playing, it was oh my God, this is amazing. This is the best. I got to do this again. I can't wait to go back. I got to do more of this. This is, a lot of cool stuff happening.
And for the people that don't know, Ryzen is this absolutely world-class production. For how we view the UFC here in America, that's what Ryzen is over in Japan. And the culture is different. The people appreciate the martial arts so much that the arena is silent when the people are fighting. And then when the martial artists will pull off a great skill, there's a rise from the audience. I mean, it is truly, as a martial artist, it is the greatest culture that you could ever want to compete in or live in or be a part of.
Yeah, the people there were, I liked about them was how cool they were. They were really honorable. As soon as I found out I was a fighter, I was a rock star to them. all these people had to take pictures with me. We got a couple free foods. At sometimes we got some cool shirts and stuff like that, and it was so cool. And everyone's like, "Hey, can you take a picture with me? Hey, can I have your autograph? Oh, you're a fighter. What? Look at your ears. You got to be a fighter." I'm like, "Well, yeah." And here in America, some people are like, "Okay, whatever." But out there, to be a martial artist was a great respect, a great honor. I was like, "Wow, that is a cool feeling." To be known for that. It'd be like a superstar martial artist. That was pretty sick.
And it's a culture that, man, you and your family and your tribe would fit into so well because, like, look at, you're a martial artist. Your now wife is a martial artist. Your daughter's a martial artist. Your son is a martial artist. You guys are like, really an American, like, family that almost would blend effortlessly into that culture because you're huge in honor. You're huge in respect and discipline and character and commitment and being a person that does what you say, and you know what I mean. And unfortunately, and especially in America and a lot of other places, it's like a dying breed. You know what I mean? Like, the culture has changed so much. There's not a lot of people living that way anymore, with that type of consistency and commitment to who they are and who they're becoming. And so let's talk a little bit about. So you took that loss, which is a tough one. You got caught with a shot where, man, it's like, you don't get caught with that shot and we get a takedown, we submit that guy, you're probably a star right now in Japan. Yeah. At that point, you're a 5-1 pro fighter beating a Yamamoto. We're lining up fights with Ryzen, but you can't dwell. So we come back. You took on Eric Ramirez, who's a very good jiu-jitsu brown belt, good boxer, good striker, Bellator veteran, and you ran through him. I mean, you actually, no disrespect to Eric, but you demolished him. I don't even remember how quick the fight was, but I remember you made it look very easy.
It's like 45 seconds.
Yeah, it was a very, very fast fight. And then you and I went back and forth majorly on the next fight decision. You had already had a win over a gentleman that is now a member of our team, Mario Aguilar.
I love him.
He's a great guy. Honestly, when I've gotten to know him, a phenomenal human being, man. Yes. And I wish he would have been with us a long time ago. I feel like we could have had him way ahead of where he is. He's 1-3 as a pro, and his 3 losses are all to people in this building. Yeah. That kind of hurts. Like, I feel bad when I look at I go, Jesus, man, we're the reason you're upside down. Yeah. But he's a great kid, man. I really respect the man that Mario is. Yeah. So you wanted to take that rematch, and I was like, there's nothing to gain. Da-da. I'm not going to say lucky. There's things happen, but you got caught with a huge shot right off the bat. You got dropped. So now you're 1-2 in your last 3. But people need to remember, that's a Ryzen fight overseas against an absolute stud from the Yamamoto family, where you traveled to Japan for that fight. You came back, you destroyed an extremely tough Bellator veteran, brown belt, and boxer, and then you got caught in a fight, which happens to everybody. Now, with that being said, you are taking on another opponent coming up who is a 10-0 pro, up a weight class, and he's looking at your record, and I guarantee he's just counting you out. He's going, man, this guy's 1-2 in his last 3. He's older. He doesn't have anything for me. And I think he is overlooking the man that you are and the martial artist that you are big time because of your last couple performances. What do you think about this upcoming fight? What made you have the faith to take it? And just talk about it, because like I said, for the people listening at home, Tim is fighting a 10-0 pro, up a weight class. Normally he fights 35. He is going 45 on 2 weeks' notice against a 10-0 pro. Now, granted, this gentleman has only ever fought 2 or 3 people with a winning record in his career, and you've done the opposite. You've said, who are the best guys? I will fight them. There's a difference there. So let's just talk about this upcoming fight.
Well, for starters, I got to take him serious. It's just like after the Mario thing, lesson learned, because like I said, I smashed him the first time we fought, and then the second time we fought, didn't take him as serious. That was a life lesson. So each time I step in the cage, like, okay, I got to take everybody serious. Like, you never know. So with this guy, it was like he reached out to me. It would have been like a week ago, and was like, hey, everybody's backing out, went backing out. I just looked at his record, and I'm like, well, when's the next time I'm going to fight? Everything's keep getting shut down on me. I'm going to throw this out to James, see what James says. And then you're like, hey, look, you looked at his record, you looked at his fights, and it's like, well, how do you feel? I'm like, well, I'm ready to fight. I've been ready. I've been basically in fight camp for almost well over a year. I train almost 6 to 7 days out of the week. I train double days a lot of times. I'm going from one class to the next, I'm going down to Troy to do my Muay Thai classes. I come here for wrestling, and then I come here for jiu-jitsu, for a lot of days. So I'm ready. But like I said, I got to make sure I fight smart.
And like I said, the guy's 10-0 as a pro. I mean, that's even if you're fighting people that are lower caliber than you, 10-0 as a pro and in combat sports is a hard thing to do. That means you didn't even have a bad day. You didn't even have a day that was you made enough mistakes that someone was able to capitalize on you. So there's something to be said for that. But I think he is counting out your experience. Their experience is a big factor in the fight game. And the amount of time that you've had as a martial artist, how old are you now?
38.
38 now. And how old were you when you started martial arts?
20.
Dude, that's 18 years.
Yeah.
That means almost 50% of your life you were training to be a martial artist. Yeah. And with that being said, you were also a high-level football player and an athlete your whole life. So when you combine that type of experience, these young bucks think that, look at the Spencers and all these kids on the come up that are like, you old men.
Yeah.
Listen, there's a lot of tricks up the sleeve in some of these lifelong martial artists. And now, obviously, as we get older, our body can't take the same damage, and there's certain limiting factors, but experience is a huge thing. If you can get this gentleman into a situation that he cannot solve, and we create one situation where this has to take place, you just restarted your career. You said to me, hey, I only want a couple more fights, then I'm going to focus on grappling. You go out there and you beat a 10-0 pro up a weight class, you just opened all the doors again.
Well, that's the goal, and I'm planning on doing it. Getting into this fight, I wasn't, with fighting up a weight class, I wasn't 100% worried about it, because even when I fought Sanford, it was at 145. But in jiu-jitsu, I compete at 145. So it's not a big change for me, and a lot of times I get tossed up into the higher weight classes anyways, because
I just saw you face a former UFC fighter in a grappling tournament recently who was in the 170 division, but there was no other experts. And then you faced him, Darren Cruikshank, and you armbarred him in the first round. So you're used to competing against whoever shows up. So some people might look at you and go, man, why are you fighting up a weight class? You're also thicker now than you've ever been. As you've gotten a little, you got to be in the mid 50s.
Yeah. I've been always in the 50s. I have actually started more strength and conditioning, so I've gotten more dense in certain spots. I'm a lot stronger than I ever was because I'm doing the strength and conditioning 2 days out of the week.
Well, it's actually old man strength, right?
Well, we don't talk about that. The OG. So going up a weight class isn't a big thing for me. Like I said, I'm used to it. And then I said a lot of tournaments, I'm used to jumping up with the big boys. So it's no big deal. Like I said, when I went up against Cruikshank, I weighed 147 for that tournament. And that was the same day weigh-in. And then he was 170 something. And I subbed him in within a minute. The tournament after that, I fought in the 155 and up. And I subbed everybody in that. So
how do you feel when you look at this guy? This is a 10-0 pro, young kid on the come up. He thinks he's the shit. He's reaching out to you, sending you a sob story. When you look at the matchup, how do you feel? The matchup goes, and you don't even have to talk about what you think is going to take place. But what do you think are the biggest advantages you have, and what are the things that you need to be careful
on? I know he's going to bull rush me. We already know that. He's bum rushed all of his other guys. So I got to make sure when he's bum rushing me, I'm moving, I'm picking my shots. If it goes to the ground, I take my time. I don't have to go a million miles a minute. And that's one of the things I have picked up lately is patience. Is slowing everything down, going that 80%. Take my spots where I get him, and then force him into doing something stupid and then getting the sub. And that's where I know where I will get him. I've seen a little bit of his videos. He's wrestled people to the ground, and he's caught guys with crap jiu-jitsu. And like I said, I'm used to going against top guys. I train with top guys. So I just got to be smart, and I will catch him. My thing is I'm a big armbar dude, so if he's listening to this, watch your arms or I'm taking one home. If I get an arm, it's coming home with me. In jiu-jitsu tournaments, everybody knows if I get a hold of it, if you're not tapping in time, I'm breaking it. I've broken a lot of arms before, that's my thing. So
no, I agree. Like I said, one mistake on his part with a man of your experience level, and that's a wrap, man. I mean, you're nearly a black belt of jiu-jitsu, you're a black belt of judo, you're a lifelong martial artist, you're a professional fighter, you fought in elite stages, you felt the pressure of walking out to Ryzen in Japan. Let people count you out. Let people not realize what you bring to the table. You still have a lot of fight in there.
Well, see, that was I look at it as for with these guys when I'm fighting is like when back in the day in high school, I played nose guard. That was my position. I was all state. My senior year, I was honorable mention. My junior year, my sophomore year, I was honorable mention all state, and I was always that little guy. And so for me, my favorite thing was ruining somebody's homecoming, going to that other town's home, ruining their homecoming. That's what I needed to do. And that's where it feels like going into the fights, especially when I'm the underdog. I got to ruin this guy's homecoming. I'm going to wreck him. I have to disappoint him in front of everybody. I have to. It's what I need to do. Because, he wants to crush my dream, so why can't I crush his?
100%, man. Well, man, Tim, this was a stellar podcast. We've gone for almost an hour, effortless dialogue here. The last things I want to talk about is, right before we wrap this up, is you have a complete fireball in that daughter, Arden, of yours. I've seen, no joke, to anyone that doesn't know Tim's daughter, and this is a true story, I've seen her grappling with like Alicia Zapatella, who is the current Invicta world champion professional fighter, top 6 in the nation for wrestling. And while she is trying to kill Arden on the mat, Arden is trash talking her like, "Oh, what's the matter? You can't submit me?" Arden is something else. But I tell you what, and I'm not taking away from Logan at all because he's a very good martial artist as well. But you really might transition to being the gentleman that it could be me and you cornering Arden as she demolishes people if she wants to take that route. You have a true, Arden's skill is ridiculous for where she's at.
We were just talking about that yesterday because me getting ready for this fight, it's kind of like our little bonding time. I'll go jogging for 20 minutes and then she'll hold mitts for me for like an hour. And that's just our chance to bond, helping each other out. But, and we've talked about that where I'm like, I wish I had half of your abilities. And she's like, "Dad, you beat me all the time." I'm like, no. I beat you because I'm stronger than you. I bully you a lot harder than what I would anybody else. But you have so much skill. I mean, it's just ridiculous what she can do, and she does it without thinking. The looks on her face, like even at the first states for wrestling, she just smashed this girl, and she's like, "Okay." She's just so calm, like it's whatever. It's an everyday thing. Where I'm like, my God, child. And like I said, this last jiu-jitsu tournament, she's just smashing everybody without trying. Everybody can't keep up with her wrestling. They can't keep up with her judo. And then when they go to the ground, she's got so much knowledge. She's armbarring. She's going after ankles. She's going after crazy subs, that Venus flytraps and all this other crazy stuff. She's going inverted, and they don't have an answer.
Yeah, if you're a girl out there listening and you see Arden Eschtruth as a possible matchup, I would say unless you love learning lessons and little bumps in the road, you're going to want to avoid this one. I'm telling you, she is really that good. And, and if the desire is there for her to fight, I really believe that girl can go UFC, that she's going to be able to go as far as she wants because since she could, stroll out on the mat in a tiny little gi and toss people on their head, she's been doing it.
Yeah, she's... Well, technically, she's been training her whole life. She's been going when she was a baby, a week old, I was taking her to practices with me. I had her in a little carrier, put her in the carrier, so she's been around it. It was just a matter of time. I've always teased her that she's my retirement package because I know, like you said, if she wants to go, she will go to the UFC if she chooses to. She is going. I guarantee with all the talent she's got, with her striking ability now, she's just a well-rounded package. There's going to be nobody that's going to stand in her way. I could easily see if she wants to fight 15 or 105. That's her choice. She's going to get one, and one of those belts will be hers.
And as she's demolishing you, this is going to be the look on her face.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this girl she she's something special. So it's cool to see. I mean, you instilled the foundation for your family. You became the martial artist first, and then you helped Kay get her career started. Like, I'll never forget that moment she won at Motor City Casino. That girl levitated out of the ring, you know what I mean? Like, and into your arms, like, because it was such an incredible moment. You know, Kay, your wife, won her amateur debut. It was incredible. Arden's a phenomenal martial artist. Logan's a great martial artist. Like, you have a family of amazing martial artists. And, you know, like I said, man, if you watch this and you decide to compete, your dad and I know that one day we will walk out to the UFC right behind you, seeing that Eschtruth jersey, because, I mean, she really is that good. Yeah. So, man, just anything else that you want to capture in this moment in time, anything you want to put on the podcast, it's just, you know, it was a pleasure having you here in the studio. And then if not, we'll wrap this thing up, man.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank my family. That's the big one, you know. They're cool. They help me do this. They allow me to do this. My wife allows me to do it. She helps me get where I need to be. Like I said, my kids, they help me train. They help me get ready for this. And thank you. You know, that's a huge thing to have a family. Even with my family here, you know, and my family at Midland, it's really nice to have this family. So thank you guys. I appreciate that.
Definitely. Huge shout out to Kay. This man, his life was changed the moment he met you. And I could see it. And it's funny. Tim came to me and goes, hey, man, I'm really thinking about marrying Kay. And I literally was like, dude, duh. Duh. I could see within a couple weeks how much you fell in love with that woman. I mean, just toppled over yourself. And you know what I mean? And that's like the American dream. That's like the story that people pursue. And you went through rough relationships. You went through mediocre relationships. You had an ex-wife. So you've experienced a wide spectrum. Yeah. And then you found your person.
Yeah, Kay's my yin to my yang. You know, she's, you know, we're kind of polar opposites. You know, she's, you know, my hippie wife, and I'm the more conservative person. But you know, we blend so well, we match, and I've never felt that way before. I felt great, like you said. Like, I wasn't even after that long. Like, you know, dude, I gotta lock this one in. You know, I gotta make sure she doesn't go anywhere. I gotta marry this woman. You know, and it's been amazing since. It's where I need to be.
Well, that's awesome. So, Tim, it was a pleasure having you in the studio today. I cannot wait. We fly out Thursday, right? Thursday morning?
Thursday morning.
Fly out Thursday morning to go try to make a statement and, you know, show that this old dog still has a lot of fight and a lot of tricks up his sleeve. So I hope everybody enjoyed the podcast. Please share this if you enjoyed it. Support Tim. You know, feel free to reach out to him. Feel free to reach out to me. You know, if you want to help Tim's career, you know, you can sponsor him. You could, you know, just a word of support. Like, everything adds up. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. And thank you, Tim, for being here. And then we'll wrap this up.
Thank you.